My credit card bounced. Then my debit card. Then my emergency Amex, the one I'd never maxed out in 28 years of marriage or the 5 years since Warren died. The cashier at Whole Foods smiled, the kind of smile you give someone when you feel sorry for them. She held my cards between two fingers like they were contaminated. Do you have another form of payment? Behind me, someone coughed. I could feel eyes drilling into my back. My face burned. The woman in line after me shifted her weight, her cart bumping mine. Let me try the debit again, I said. My voice sounded thin, desperate. She swiped it. The machine beeped, declined. Hi, viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. I abandoned my cart right there in the aisle. Organic chicken breasts, fresh tomatoes. The good olive oil Warren used to love. I walked out with my head up, but my hands shaking so hard I could barely grip my purse. In my car, I sat behind the wheel and stared at my wallet. Inside was a single faded photograph of Warren on our anniversary. His smile, his eyes. The man who'd built everything with me from absolutely nothing. I called the bank, got a robot, pressed buttons until a human voice finally answered. All your accounts have been frozen, Mrs. Morrison, the representative said. I can't give you details over the phone. You'll need to come in person. But I already knew the details. I knew exactly who'd done this. My son, Desmond, the son I'd carried for 9 months after 3 miscarriages, the boy I'd rocked through midnight fevers, the man I'd made co-signer on my accounts because I trusted him, because he was my only child, because I thought blood meant something. I started my car, my chest felt tight. 53 years old and I couldn't buy groceries. Warren and I had built Morrison Auto Group from nothing. 12 dealerships across 3 states. He'd started as a mechanic with grease under his fingernails. I'd worked double shifts as a nurse while pregnant. We'd saved every dollar, sacrificed every vacation, missed every birthday party. We'd made $42 million. Real money, generational wealth. And this morning, I couldn't afford a gallon of milk. I drove toward Desmond's house in the suburbs, the house I'd helped him buy, the neighborhood where his kids went to schools I paid for. Every mile felt like swallowing glass. His Range Rover sat in the driveway next to Corinne's Mercedes, both financed through my dealerships at 0% interest. I rang the doorbell, waited, rang again. Inside, I heard footsteps, then silence, then more footsteps moving away from the door. Desmond, I called out. I know you're in there. The door opened, but it wasn't my son standing there. It was Corinne, his wife of 6 years, tennis whites, manicured nails, a smile that looked like it had been carved with a knife. Oh, Nora, she said. My name sounded like something rotten in her mouth. What brings you here? You know exactly why I'm here. I stepped forward. She didn't move, so... Where's Desmond? He's busy. Corinne examined her nails, pink polish, perfect cuticles. You should have called first. I tried. He's not answering. She tilted her head, studied me like I was something she'd found stuck to her shoe. That's because he blocked your number this morning. The words hit me in the chest. Physical, real. He what? Blocked you, deleted you from his contacts, actually. She leaned against the doorframe. He said it was time to set boundaries. My throat went dry. Boundaries? I'm his mother. Exactly. She laughed, soft, cold. And you've been smothering him for years. The business, the money, the constant involvement in our lives. It's exhausting, Nora, for both of us. Heat flooded my face. I've done nothing but support this family. Everything I've given, another laugh. Sharper this time. You mean held over our heads? Every dinner, every conversation, it's a reminder of how much we owe you. How hard you and Warren worked. Her eyes rolled. We're tired of the guilt trips. That's not what I... Desmond! She called over her shoulder. Not loud, just loud enough. Heavy footsteps, getting closer. My son appeared behind his wife. I barely recognized him. His face was stone, cold, set in an expression I'd never seen before. He had Warren's jaw, Warren's broad shoulders, but Warren's warmth was completely gone. Mom, he said, flat, empty. You shouldn't be here. My hands clenched around my purse strap. My cards aren't working. The bank said my accounts are frozen. He crossed his arms. Yeah, I did that. The air left my lungs. We need to talk about your spending, he continued, like he was discussing the weather, like he hadn't just admitted to destroying my life. My spending? My voice cracked. Desmond, what are you talking about? You're out of control, Mom. Buying things you don't need, throwing money around. He shook his head. Someone has to protect the family assets. I stared at him, searched his face for the boy I'd raised, the child who'd sobbed into my shoulder when Warren died, the teenager who'd promised to take care of me, the young man who'd begged me for a position at the company 3 years ago. Nothing, just ice. I bought groceries, I whispered. That's what I was doing when my card declined. Buying food. Corinne snorted. Please, we've seen your bank statements. Donations to animal shelters, gifts for the neighbors, that ridiculous check you wrote to the hospital. That hospital saved your husband's life when he had appendicitis. My voice rose. I donated to their pediatric wing. Without consulting us, Desmond said. That's the problem. His eyes didn't blink, didn't soften. It's not your money anymore, Mom. It's our money, Desmond said. The family money. Our money. The words echoed in my head. Twisted. Wrong. I built that money. My voice barely worked. Your father and I, every single dollar. And you're pissing it away, Corinne interrupted. Do you know how much you've spent this year? It's embarrassing. My hands became fists. How dare you? No, how dare you? Desmond stepped forward, taller than me now, bigger. How dare you act like you're entitled to do whatever you want? I have children to think about, college funds to protect. Corinne and I have plans. Plans? I looked between them. What plans? They exchanged a glance. Something passed between them, something that made my skin crawl. We're selling the dealerships, Desmond said. The ground shifted under my feet. You can't. They're not yours to sell. Actually, Corinne pulled out her phone, scrolled. According to the documents you signed 6 months ago when you added Desmond as co-owner and power of attorney, they absolutely are his to sell. 6 months ago, I'd been in the hospital. Minor surgery, routine. Desmond had visited with paperwork, said it was just updates, beneficiary forms, authorization for him to handle business matters if I was incapacitated. I'd been groggy, trusting. I'd signed everything he put in front of me. You tricked me, I breathed. We protected the family, Desmond corrected. Those dealerships are worth $42 million. Consolidated Motors offered $38 million cash. We close in 60 days. $38 million. For the empire Warren and I built with our hands, our sweat, our lives. That's robbery, I said, but those dealerships are worth at least $50 million. To you, maybe, Corinne shrugged. To us, they're just a headache. Desmond has his own career aspirations. He doesn't want to sell cars his whole life. His own career? I stared at my son. It's in. You don't have a career. You have a title I gave you and a salary you didn't earn. His face darkened. I worked for everything I have. You worked? The laugh that came out of me was bitter, ugly. You show up at 10, leave by 3, spend most of your day golfing. I'm the one who keeps those dealerships running. Not anymore. Desmond reached into his pocket, pulled out a letter, folded, official looking. He handed it to me. My fingers shook as I unfolded it. Legal letterhead. Words that blurred together, removed, terminated, transferred, final. My signature at the bottom. I didn't remember signing this. You're removed from all management positions, Desmond said. Effective immediately. No access to business accounts. No company property. No decision-making authority. My throat closed. You can't do this. It's already done. The lawyers have everything. He leaned closer. And honestly, it's better this way. You're getting older, not as sharp. We're doing you a favor. A favor? My voice broke. You've stolen everything. We've protected you from yourself, Corinne said. Smooth, practiced. From future embarrassment. This way you can enjoy retirement without stress. I don't want retirement. You're being dramatic. Desmond pulled out his wallet, extracted two $20 bills. Held them out like I was a stranger on the street. Here, for groceries. I stared at the money in Desmond's hand. Two crisp 20s, $40, for the woman who'd given him everything. Keep it, I said. Mom, don't be stupid. You said your cards don't work. I'd rather starve than take money from you like this. Corinne laughed, bright, cruel, like breaking glass. Oh, you'll be back, trust me. Give it a day or two. She smiled wider. Hunger makes women behave fast. She said it like she was sharing a recipe. Casual, easy. You'll come crawling back, she continued, apologizing for being difficult. And when you do, we'll talk about getting you a nice little allowance. Something reasonable for a woman your age. An allowance. After everything, after the double shifts, after the missed birthdays. After building a $42 million empire from nothing, an allowance. You're right about one thing, I said. My voice steady now, cold. I'm not as sharp as I used to be. If I were, I would have seen this coming. I would have seen what you've become. Something flickered in Desmond's eyes. Quick, gone before I could name it. This is who I've always been, Mom. You just never wanted to see it. He put his arm around Corinne. You wanted me to be like Dad, some saint who worked himself to death for nothing. For nothing? The words exploded out of me. He worked for you, for us, for this family. He worked because he didn't know any better, but I do. Desmond's voice dropped. Dangerous. I know that money is power, and power is everything. And now I have it all. He stepped back, drew Corinne closer. So, here's how this is going to work. You're going to stay out of our way while we finalize the sale. You're going to move out of that house. It's way too big for one person anyway. Into something more appropriate. A condo or assisted living. Assisted living? My voice rose. I'm 53 years old. And you'll cooperate, he continued. Ignored me completely. Because if you don't, if you try to fight us on this, he paused. Let the silence stretch. My heart pounded. We'll make sure you never see your grandchildren again. The threat landed in my chest. McKenna, Brooks, 8 and 6. I'd been at both their births, held them first. I picked them up from school twice a week. We baked cookies on Sundays. You wouldn't, I breathed. Try me. His eyes were empty, dead. Now get off my property. And next time you need something, call first. He paused. If we decide to take your call. He stepped back, closed the door, not a slam. That would have been too emotional. Just closed it, firm, final, like I was nothing. I stood on the porch, my heart hammered against my ribs. Behind the door, I heard them, laughing. Corinne's voice, light and pleased. That was easier than we thought. Desmond's response. Muffled, amused, more laughter. I walked back to my car. My legs felt like water. Got in, locked the doors, sat in silence. My son had taken everything. The business Warren and I built. The money we'd earned. My access to my own life. They'd frozen my accounts. Stolen my company. Threatened my grandchildren. $40 for groceries. An allowance. Assisted living. My hands shook on the steering wheel. I thought about Warren. How he'd started with nothing. Grease under his fingernails. Dreams bigger than our tiny apartment. How we'd worked together, built together, sacrificed together. How he'd always told me to be smart, be careful, protect myself. Years ago, after a friend's daughter got swindled by her husband, Warren had insisted we create backup accounts, hidden reserves. He'd called them our nuclear option, accounts that required both our biometric data to access. After he died, I'd updated them, made them mine alone, my fingerprint, my retinal scan, my voice. I'd done it as a safety measure, never imagining I'd need protection from my own son. But I'd forgotten about them. In the chaos of Warren's death and running the business and raising Desmond, I'd pushed them to the back of my mind. Had Desmond found them? Had he accessed those too? My phone rang, unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me press the green button. Mrs. Morrison? A man's voice. Professional, crisp. Yes? This is Frederick Pemberton from First National Bank, Senior Vice President of Private Wealth Management. He paused. We've been trying to reach you regarding unusual activity on your accounts. My chest tightened. Unusual? Yes, ma'am. There have been several large transfers initiated this morning using your credentials. Another pause. I'm looking at attempted movements totaling $23 million. The world tilted. $23 million. Your son attempted to transfer funds from your personal accounts into accounts in his name, Pemberton continued. However, these transfers triggered our fraud prevention protocols. The amounts exceeded his authorization limits. I couldn't breathe. Additionally, his voice changed, became more careful. Some of the accounts he attempted to access are protected by security measures you put in place years ago, measures that can't be overridden without your biometric authentication. Warren, the nuclear option accounts. Desmond had tried to access them and failed. Mr. Pemberton, I said carefully, my voice steadied, can you tell me exactly what accounts were accessed and what accounts were attempted? Of course. I'll need to verify your identity first. I spent 10 minutes answering security questions. My mother's maiden name, the street I grew up on, the make of my first car. Finally, Pemberton spoke again. Thank you, Mrs. Morrison. Now, big son, let me explain what happened this morning. I gripped the phone tighter. Your son froze your everyday accounts, the ones linked to your credit cards and daily expenses. He transferred management of Morrison Auto Group into his name alone. He also filed paperwork to transfer the deed of your house. My stomach dropped. However, Pemberton's voice changed, became almost pleased. He was unable to access certain protected accounts, the ones requiring biometric authentication. My breath caught. These accounts were established years ago with dual authentication protocols. After your husband's passing, you updated them to require only your biometric data, your fingerprint, retinal scan, voice identification. Warren's voice echoed in my memory. Always have a backup plan, Nora. Always protect yourself. Your son attempted to access these accounts multiple times this morning, Pemberton continued. Each attempt triggered our fraud prevention system. The security protocols you established cannot be overridden, not by power of attorney, not by co-signing privileges, not by anyone except you. I closed my eyes, felt tears burning behind my lids. How much, I whispered, is in those accounts? Pemberton paused, just for a moment. Then he said the words that changed everything. Approximately $78 million, Mrs. Morrison. $78 million. The number echoed in my head, bounced around my skull, refused to settle. Desmond didn't know about it. Corinne didn't know about it. They'd frozen my everyday accounts and thought they'd taken everything, but they'd barely scratched the surface. 78 million? I repeated. My voice sounded strange, distant. Yes, ma'am, across various investments, bonds, and liquid assets. All completely secure, all accessible only by you. I started laughing, couldn't help it. The sound bubbled up from somewhere deep in my chest. Part relief, part something darker. Mrs. Morrison, are you all right? I'm fine, Mr. Pemberton. I wiped my eyes. Better than fine. I need to set up an appointment. I need to discuss changes to my accounts and my will, and I need to speak to your best attorney about several legal matters. Of course. When would you like to come in? Within the hour, if possible. I'll clear my calendar. His voice was warm now, professional but genuinely helpful. We'll handle everything discreetly, Mrs. Morrison. I promise you that. I hung up and looked back at Desmond's house through my rearview mirror. The perfect lawn, the expensive cars, the family inside who thought they'd won. They'd taken everything they could see, every account they knew about, every dollar they thought existed. But they'd forgotten Warren's most important lesson, the one he'd drilled into me during those early years when we had nothing. Never put all your money in one place. Never let anyone see your whole hand, not even family. Especially not family. My son had frozen my credit cards. His wife had smirked about hunger making women behave. They'd offered me $40 like I was a beggar on the street. They had no idea what was coming. I started the engine. In my mirror, the curtain moved in Desmond's front window, Corinne, watching me leave. Probably laughing, probably celebrating with my son about how they'd broken me. Let them laugh, let them celebrate, let them think they'd won, because in 60 days, when they tried to close that dealership sale, they were going to learn something important. You can't sell what you don't own. The bank was quiet. Marble floors, soft lighting, the kind of place where serious money lives. Frederick Pemberton met me in the lobby, tall, silver hair, expensive suit. He shook my hand firmly. Ms. Morrison, thank you for coming so quickly. He led me to a private conference room, glass walls, mahogany table. A woman in a sharp blazer stood when we entered. This is Patricia Chen, Pemberton said, our chief legal counsel. Patricia smiled, professional, warm. Mrs. Morrison, I've reviewed your accounts and the documentation your son filed this morning. We have a lot to discuss. For the next 2 hours, we talked. I explained everything, the surgery, the documents I'd signed while groggy, the frozen accounts, the dealership sale, the threats about my grandchildren. Patricia took notes, asked questions. Her face remained neutral, but her eyes grew harder with each detail. Your son committed fraud, she said finally. Multiple counts. He forged signatures, exceeded his legal authority, attempted grand larceny. Can we stop the dealership sale? I asked. Absolutely. Patricia slid a document across the table. The dealerships are held in a family trust that your son has no legal right to dissolve. The documents he showed you were falsified. We'll file an injunction tomorrow morning. Relief flooded through me. But there's more we need to address, Pemberton added. He opened a folder. Your son attempted to access $78 million this morning. That's attempted theft on a massive scale. The authorities need to be notified. I thought about Desmond, about the boy he'd been, the man he'd become, about McKenna and Brooks, my grandchildren, innocent in all of this. I want to protect my grandchildren, I said. Whatever happens next, they can't suffer for their father's choices. Patricia nodded. We'll structure everything to ensure that. Trust me, Ms. Morrison. By the time we're finished, your grandchildren will be protected, and your son will understand exactly what he's lost. Pemberton slid another document toward me. First, we need to secure everything. New accounts, new passwords, new biometric authentication. We'll transfer your accessible funds into accounts he can't touch. I signed, and signed, and signed. With each signature, I felt stronger, more solid. One more thing, I said. I want to change my will. Immediately. Patricia pulled out a legal pad. Tell me what you want. I told her everything. The scholarship fund in Warren's name, the trust for my grandchildren, the donation to the hospital, and nothing, absolutely nothing, for Desmond. When we finished, Pemberton walked me to my car. Mrs. Morrison, he said quietly. What your son did, it's unforgivable. But the way you're handling it, that's remarkable. I smiled, felt it reach my eyes for the first time in hours. My husband used to say that revenge is a dish best served cold, I said. But I prefer to think of it as justice served with perfect timing. 3 days passed. I stayed quiet. Didn't call Desmond. Didn't show up at his house. Didn't make a scene. I let him think he'd won. On day 4, I got a text from Corinne. Unknown number. She must have gotten a new phone to reach me. Nora, we need to discuss your living arrangements. Desmond found a nice assisted living facility. Come by tomorrow at 2. I deleted the message. Didn't respond. On day 7, my attorney called. The injunction is filed, Patricia said. The dealership sale is blocked. Consolidated Motors has been notified that Desmond Morrison has no authority to sell. They're threatening to sue him for wasting their time. Good, I said. There's more. We've filed fraud charges. The district attorney is very interested. Your son will be contacted by investigators within 48 hours. I sat in my kitchen. The house Desmond had tried to steal. The home Warren and I had bought 30 years ago. Outside, the sun was setting, orange and pink across the sky. My phone rang. Desmond. I let it go to voicemail. He called again and again and again. Finally, I answered. Mom. His voice was different, panicked. Mom, what did you do? I protected myself, I said calmly. The sale is blocked. Consolidated is threatening to sue me. The bank is saying I committed fraud. What the hell is going on? You tried to steal from me, Desmond. You froze my accounts. You forged documents. You attempted to access money that wasn't yours. Silence. Then, that money belongs to this family. No, I said, that money belongs to me. Warren and I earned it, built it, protected it, and you tried to take it. Mom, please, his voice cracked. We can work this out. I made a mistake. Corinne, she pushed me into it. She said, stop. I cut him off. You're a grown man. You made your choices. Now you live with them. What about McKenna and Brooks? You can't do this to them. My chest tightened, but I kept my voice steady. Your children are protected. I've established trusts for their education, their future. They'll be taken care of. I paused. By me, not you. You can't. I already did. And Desmond, one more thing. What? You taught me something important. You taught me that blood doesn't mean loyalty, that family doesn't guarantee love, that trust is earned, not given. I heard him breathing, ragged, desperate. So, thank you, I continued. Thank you for showing me exactly who you are, for teaching me that I'm stronger than you ever believed, for reminding me that I don't need you. Mom. Goodbye, Desmond. I hung up, and for the first time in days, I felt peace. 3 months later, I stood in the conference room at Morrison Auto Group headquarters. My headquarters. The dealerships were mine again, fully and legally. The courts had reversed every fraudulent document, restored every stolen authorization. Desmond faced criminal charges, fraud, attempted grand larceny, forgery. His attorney was negotiating a plea deal. Corinne had filed for divorce, moved back to her parents' house. The mansion I'd helped buy was in foreclosure. And McKenna and Brooks? They lived with me now. Full custody, temporary, the court said, until Desmond completed his sentence and proved he could provide stable care. But we all knew the truth. Those children were mine to raise, to protect, to love the way their father never could. I looked at the framed photograph on my desk. Warren on our 25th anniversary, smiling, proud. I did it, I whispered to him. I protected what we built. My phone buzzed. Patricia Chen. Nora, the plea deal is finalized. Desmond gets 18 months minimum security, 5 years probation, and mandatory restitution. He'll pay back every dollar he attempted to steal. And the dealerships? Yours. Forever. No one can touch them now. I thanked her and hung up. That evening, I took McKenna and Brooks to get ice cream. They chattered about school, about their friends, about the new puppy we'd adopted last week. They didn't ask about their father, didn't mention their mother. They just laughed and ate their ice cream and held my hands as we walked back to the car, and I realized something. Desmond had tried to take everything from me. my money, my business, my dignity. But he'd given me something more valuable. He'd given me my grandchildren, my purpose, my reason to keep fighting. He'd reminded me that I was stronger than anyone believed, that I could survive anything, that I didn't need his approval or his love to matter. I'd built an empire once. I could do it again. And this time, I'd do it right. For McKenna, for Brooks, for the grandchildren who deserved better than a father who chose greed over family. For Warren, who'd taught me to always have a backup plan. And for myself. Because I'd earned it. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with everything, had your sacrifices thrown back in your face, or been told you're too old to fight back, remember this: your worth was never in their hands. Your power was always yours. To anyone rebuilding after family turned against you, every setback is positioning you for something greater. Stay quiet, stay strategic, and let your actions prove them wrong. What's the biggest lesson you're taking from Nora's story? And if you were in her situation, would you have fought back or walked away? What would you have done differently? Don't stop here. Click the next video on your screen right now and watch another powerful story from our channel. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next one.